Hello everyone, welcome back to the second part of the lecture. The second part we're going to talk about chain if-else statement. You will be introduced to this elif for multi-way decision. Let's start with a scenario. You are given two numbers represented by variable x and y. Then you are supposed to compare the two variables and display one of the following results. Either x is bigger or y is bigger or they are equal. How do you work out this code? There are many ways to write the program. Let's start with the comparing x more than y first. If x more than y, then what should you do? You should print x is bigger. Else, what are the other conditions, other cases? X can be smaller than y and x is equal to y. So we need to do another checking in order to find out which cases. We do a comparison for x less than y first. If x less than y, then we should print y is bigger. Else, if then it should be print they are equal, right? Since this one x more than y, if this one is false, so then the only cases are x less than y or x equal to y. If this one evaluated to be false, means x is not less than y, then the only cases left is x is equal to y. So you should print out they are equal. So in this case, this one referred to the first branch, this one referred to the second branch of the if-else statement. Inside the else branch, the second branch, we have another if-else statement. For the if-else statement, we have the first branch, which is print y is bigger. Second branch is print they are equal. You look at this code. In fact, these are three-way decision. Based on the relationship between x and y, you make a decision. But the decisions are one of the three decisions. Okay, one of the three choices. Are there any better way to represent the three-way decisions? Okay, are they possible to use three branches? So let's try to simplify this code. In this case, we have if and else. We can combine this one to form a elif. This one is elif, pronounced as elif. It actually means else if lah. So you combine an else followed by immediately by an if into a single keyword called a elif. You see, if you convert it to elif, the structure of this code is a bit different now. Let's try to study the structure a bit further. So this is the first branch. This is the second branch. Lastly, this is become the third branch. By using the elif, you actually make multiple branches, more than two branches happen. So this is an example of a chain if-else statement. There's only one branch gets run. There's no more nesting. This code looks much more organized than the previous cases. So how does this code work? First, we just check the condition of the first one. If the condition is true, then we we'll run the first branch. Then skip the rest of the code. If the first condition is false, Then we move on to check the else, another condition. If this one is true, then we run the second branch. Then we skip the rest. If this one is false, we skip the second branch, we move on to the else. We run the third branches. So let's do a summary of this if else statement format. It looks like this. There are 3 branches, only 1 branch gets run. First, we evaluate the condition 1. If it's true, then we run the case 1 statement, which is under the if. If the condition 1 is false, then we skip the case 1 statement. We could move on to check the condition 2 is after this else. If the condition is true, then we run the code under the else, which is case 2 statement. If the condition 2 is false, we move on to the else part. We will run the default statement. Okay? Default statement means if the condition 1, 2 are both false, then we run the default statement. We can actually omit the else part. Without else, the else statement looks like this. How does this one work out? If you check the first condition, if it's true, then you run the case 1 statement. If false, you move on to check the condition 2. Okay, if condition 2 is true, then you run the case 2 statement. If false, then you skip the condition 2 statement, and after that, they run the code after this if else statement. In this case, else is omitted. There are only 2 branches. If the both conditions are false, then no branch gets run. Let's cover a bit more about else. For else, you can have as many as you like. How does this the flow work? If the condition 1 evaluated to be true, then you run the case 1 statement. All the rest are skipped. If your condition 1 becomes false, then you skip the case 1 statement. Then you check the condition 2. If the condition 2 is true, then you run the case 2 statement. All the rest are skipped. If the first 2 conditions are both false, they move on to check the condition 3. If the condition 3 is true, then you run the code under the condition 3, which is case 3 statement. All the rest are skipped. Similarly, if all the condition 1, 2, 3 are false, condition is 4 is true, then you run the case 4 statement. The else part is skipped. Lastly, everything is false. If everything is false, then you run the else part, which is the default statement. There's no limit on the number of else statement. No limit. If there is an else part, it has to be at the end. Okay? It's optional, must be at the end only. These are all the things important about else. Let's move on to do an exercise on Pokemon game again. You are given this information, the combat power of different Pokemon. Your friend just caught a Pokemon. He told you its name, but not its combat power. You are given this picture of information. Write code to figure out the combat power of his Pokemon. How do you write the code? Name equal to input, enter the name of Pokemon. First, you ask your friend to enter the name of the Pokemon. So based on name, first you check one by one. If name equals or to spin a rack, then you should print CP is 43, right? According to the picture. If this one is false, then you move on to check another condition. If name equal to upper, then if you satisfy this condition, you print CP is 38 based on the picture. Similarly, for if name equal to Qfish, you should print CP is 24. Name equal to Sinchet, CP is 20. Name equal to Ratata, you print CP is 10. Lastly, else if name equal to Chamanda, you print CP is 10. You look at this code. How to simplify the code? The print CP is 10 and this print CP is 10. Somehow they are duplicate. How do you combine these two together? You can combine by using OR. Remember, OR means as long as you satisfy one of the condition, the whole thing is true. As long as satisfy whether either name equal to Ratata or name equal to Chamanda, you should print CP is 10. Okay, so this is a simplified version of the code. One more question. What if the name is not in the table? Which means after the friend making something else like Pikachu. If Pikachu is not equal to any of the Pokemon listed here, so how? If you run the code like this, what's the result? The result will be nothing, right? Because you didn't really satisfy any of the conditions. So the user may wonder, what happened to your code? Is it running non-stop or whatever things have happened? Any error happens? So you'd better give some output to the user so the user will not be waiting. It seems like you are still processing the code. So you should provide else part. Else means what? It doesn't belong to any of the conditions. You should print name not found. You use else to provide a default case, which all the condition doesn't satisfy. To catch all the other choices not listed in the conditions given. Okay, so let's look at this code. If you use a nested version to write the code, how does it look like? This part is the same. For the else, after the else, we should have another if, right? Name to equal to Whooper, you print CP is 38. After that, else. Another else, you try another if. Name equal to Qfish, you print CP is 24. Else, another else, you should indent and write if again, because this if is under the else. Okay, so centered and also other things. So this is the nested version. Nested version is a bad solution because you can see your code is not very organized. You cannot really tell what's the relationship between all the conditions. In fact, they are parallels, right? They are condition or they actually checking the same variables, but just like checking the same variable equal to different string name. So this is a bad solution. So what are the programming tips you can summarize from this? There are more than one way to solve any problems. Programming is a craft. We are the crafters. We should carefully design our programs to strive to craft good programs. So what is the standard of the good program? What is the goal of the program crafting? So you should strive for simplicity and clarity. Okay? Simplicity means your code is simple. Clarity, your code is clear to other people. So you should try to aim for simplicity and clarity, so that your code is readable to yourself as well to others. At the same time, if your code has errors, it's easier for yourself, other people, to read our code and find out the error inside the code. There are a lot to learn for this case. As you program more, you will tell the difference. You'll become better programmers, a better designer, better architect in time to come. That's all for today. Let's have a summary. First, we talk about nested if statement. We talk about chain if statement using the elif. Lastly, we do a comparison between nested if versus chain if. So in summary, you should try to avoid nested if. If you can use a chain if, you should try to use it. Up next, tutorial 7. Work on the trainings, tutorial 7 and lecture 7. After you finish the tutorial and the lectures, you move on to do the quest 7. Next lecture, we'll talk more examples on if-else statement. Goodbye. Thank you for watching the video.